his 900 Triumph, and he is going to be 78 in October, and he's been riding motorbikes since the 60s. And I've got all of that power, and I've been riding for 19 years. But the experience he has on a bike, I cannot get fucking near him. He's just too good in the corners. So I think experience is everything when it comes to riding bikes. There's no point having a new bike if you're not going to take it out for a ride. So those that perhaps saw it yesterday, I took the BMW S1000RR out, and thanks to Steve Ridge at Dick Lovett Motorrad, they managed to make sure my GS was available, having it only arrived yesterday off the truck, but they chucked the exhaust on it straight away, and I managed to take delivery of it. I'll have a proper walk around the bike maybe in a couple of days, but we'll have a look at it in a second. But I'm very cognizant of getting my running in miles done as soon as possible, so I've hit the road today. I've done 100 and something miles so far down to North Devon to come for a ride with my father, and we've stopped at a place called Torrington in the heart of the North Devon countryside, and I'll show you the view. So whilst Devon's got plenty of coastline, it's also got plenty of that. So this area here is quite famous for something which I'm going to get my father to explain, and I should say that about 10 years ago we were at a dealership and someone asked me if he was my brother. He is not, he's 32 years older than me. So the story about what this is famous for is...
It's a site of a famous battle between Cromwell's Roundheads and the Cavaliers. And the story goes that some of the Cavaliers were locked up in a church and the Roundheads set fire to it. So it's quite a historic site.
Very good, very interesting. So a picture perfect view with the BMW R1300GS TE Tramontana 719 option. Too many letters there. As I said, I'll give a proper walk around the bike in the next couple of days. But a big thank you to Fred from Boxer Works for fitting these crash bars today. Squeezed me in amongst a load of jobs. It certainly makes you ride with a little bit more confidence. But more importantly, the bike next to me. It's my father's Triumph, what was originally Street Cup, a 900 parallel twin. Doesn't look much like a Street Cup anymore, but a very pretty bike nonetheless. And we'll start it up in a minute so you can hear it. Some nice details he's put on. An Air Force badge, as we're both ex-Air Force. And having ridden this bike myself, for its size, it's incredibly planted and calm to ride. And potentially, I would say, a better bike than the Thruxton for what it's trying to be. Let's get up close and have a listen to it. So after yesterday's look at the S1000RR, with the chain guard had rubbed against the chain and was mounted, nice to see a proper robust bit of kit there. Well made, from Spain apparently, as I'm getting in the background. The same with the bash plate there. But all in all, a pretty little bike. And if you see one on the market, because they're not made anymore, definitely worth a look for a nice platform to do an awful lot of stuff too. Now, you join on me on Contersbury Hill. Linton and Lydmouth are just down the hill. And here we are again. Let's just turn the ignition off. Key fob not in range. Anyway, with the new RGS 1300. Now, this is a cracking road to learn a bike. Let me find somewhere to sit and we'll talk about it. I reckon about here will do. This is a road, so excuse any traffic noise, should you hear it. I would go down there, but I'm not brave enough, so I'll stay up here. I mentioned in a video a couple of weeks ago, two videos. I mentioned about how it's important when you get a new bike to take it out somewhere where you can learn it. And today, the time I've finished with this bike, having only collected it yesterday, I'll have done 200 and something miles, 110 of them on a motorway and large A road, and then the remaining, most of them done on a very twisty coast road. And I'm hoping after the end of those 200 odd miles, I should have an idea of how that bike rides. Not enough to ride it confidently, I'd say, but enough to know how it's going to react when you stamp on the brakes, when you power out of a corner in different gears. A really important thing to do. But the other video I mentioned, something that I think is important, and I meant to say it earlier when I was down with my dad and his motorbike, is about if you're riding enough. So this has been evident with me and him for years when we've gone out riding, but today's as good a time as any to say, his 900 Triumph, and he is going to be 78 in October, and he's been riding motorbikes since the 60s, and I've got all of that power, and I've been riding for 19 years, but the experience he has on a bike, I cannot get fucking near him. He's just too good in the corners. So I think experience is everything when it comes to riding bikes. It's all very well being a fair weather rider or on a nice bike, but you're just not building up the experience in those years. Now I hope I'm half as good as a rider as he is when I've been riding for 50 years, but I know it's going to take that long to be any good at it. Just a thought for you. Now as I head up this road, and I'm going up that way, heading back towards Bristol, I'll stop in a few places to show you some of the scenery. And to those that have mentioned to me about doing riding footage, I will solve that problem next week, I promise, because I am thinking today that this would be a fucking awesome day to film. Anyway, there's a bike going past. A GS, of course it is. So yeah, let's head on home and see how we get on. Now I'm going to be heading up that road, and I will do my best to stop at certain places and give you a sense of the view. In fact, in the corner right now, there should be a map of the route I'm taking, so that if you've not been down here, you really fucking need to. Anyway, let's crack on with the ride. Firstly, hear that? It's nothing. Anyway, I'm only about half a mile on from where I was, back that way. And this next section of road is pretty twisty, and I'm going to do something that this new bike allows me to do, which is foolish. Let me show you. We have a lean indicator, which resets every time you switch your bike off. So we can see we've got 0, 0, 0, 0. Let's see what I get to going that way. Wish me luck. So we're sort of halfway through, and I've not done very well. 26 on the left, 32 on the right. But I'm going to put it down to factory fresh tyres. But interestingly, I've always been more confident on the right hand side than I am the left hand side. So nice to see that in action. So we've stopped at this little spot here, behind the vans and the people. And it's interesting, this road, because it sits with the sea on one side. Although you can't see it really from here, it sort of drops away. It's like the ridge of a hill. But stunning spot. So let's see if we can improve that. Well, nearly home, and we managed 33 and 35. To be continued, I reckon. So home again. Cheers. I have to say this is actually number 2, because it was such a hot ride on the way home and on the way there, frankly. Interesting performance with the Nox jacket and the Climb helmet, which I'll talk about another day. And I'll talk about the GS another day properly when I do a proper review on it. Just noticing, looks like I work for QVC, but that's from the photograph for the thumbnail for the video about my products. Anyway, the bike did amazing, as you'd expect it would. I did pick the worst day to travel possible. It's the Friday that the schools break up in the summer holidays. And it was very hot. I think it was 27, 28 on the way down there, and between 20 in the shade and up to 25 on the way home. But as a preface to my review on my new R1300GS Tramontana option 719. I will say this, it looks like a GS, it's called a GS, but it's not a fucking GS.